Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can we do a little bit better than that? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Williams, and I'm the Assistant Director of the James Farmer Multicultural Center at the University of Mary Washington. Today is going to be another beautiful and historic day here in the city of Fredericksburg. I want to begin the program by introducing Mayor Carrie Devine and inviting her to welcome everyone and make the monumental announcement everyone has been waiting for. Can we give her a hand?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I would like to welcome everybody on behalf of the City Council and City staff. I'd like to welcome the Fredericksburg community, President and CEO of Virginia Tourism Corporation, Rita McElligott, representatives from Senator Warner's office, Tania Talento, Congresswoman Spanberger's office, Mark Gordon, Senator Kane's office, Oriella Mejia, City Council members, esteemed guest, UMW President Dr. Pano, UMW staff and students and city staff for this momentous announcement regarding the City of Fredericksburg's Civil Rights Trail. A special thank you to Reverend Dobynes and Mary Malone for allowing us to hold this event in the sanctuary of Shiloh Baptist Old Site. We are extremely excited to bring everyone back together for this announcement and are pleased that despite not knowing what this announcement really was, the community showed up again. We are grateful that Fredericksburg always shows up. So without further delay, we are excited to announce that the City of Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail, Freedom, a work in progress, is being added to the United States Civil Rights Trail as the 4th site in Virginia. This puts us on the map in a way we could never have imagined and brings the stories told here on the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail beyond our city's boundaries. We would not have been able to be on the United States Civil Rights Trail without the support of the state of Virginia. We thank them for their support. And to tell us more about what this means, I am pleased to introduce Rita McElligott, President and CEO of Virginia Tourism Corporation, who you might know better as the one responsible for the Virginia is for Lovers brand. Please welcome Rita.
Thank you, Mayor Devine, distinguished guest. What a beautiful day. We're always making history in Virginia. Because after all, Virginia is for what? Lovers. History lovers. 21 sites. You guys are like right off the top row here. You go big. And Fredericksburg, I'll just say from a personal standpoint, it's a city that I love. I come here often. I live in Richmond. So I travel to Fredericksburg to stroll up and down the streets, Princess Anne, Caroline. It is a place that makes you feel something. Yeah. And you can gather from the guests who come here from all over the world that they're here for a special reason. You see the kids running up and down the street. You see multi-generational families, you hear different languages. You have the amazing benefit to have an extraordinary location off this very busy interstate. You have Amtrak right here, easily accessible. You're on a body of water. I call it the perfect place. to be here to, we'll call it an induction into the U.S. Civil Rights Trail program. And this program has a board that represents various sites across the United States, primarily on the East Coast. And Jane LeMay with Virginia Tourism and I serve on that United States Civil Rights Trail. And I will say that the requirements and the conditions upon which you are allowed and granted access to the program is extraordinary. And you have in Victoria Matthews.
Yes.
Dedicated Fredericksburg resident, but also dedicated to this purpose and cause. And she shed tears in talking about this to people, again, from around the world, and in making the case to the United States Civil Rights Trail program. And Chris Williams has been right at her side. The two of them, what a dynamic duo. Go guys. And congratulations. So, the landmarks are a part of your history, but they're also a part of Virginia's history. And when we think about what learning history and what vacationing and going out and absorbing when you walk up and down these streets where presidents have walked, where the enslaved have walked, where soldiers have walked, where people whose hands have built this place and this city, that if we all can preserve and appreciate and understand that what we have in common is so much greater than what divides us. And that when you can encounter someone, whether you're at Sammy's or whether you are, don't let me start naming names of restaurants, right? I'm gonna get in trouble super fast. But wherever you are, if you're shopping at Posh or, just all the moments of where we engage one another as human beings in our humanity, we get to share your experiences, our experiences, and from Virginia Tourism standpoint, we will take your 21 sites and talk about that as we travel around the world. And we're headed to Germany as an example in April with a program. We have United Airlines, which flies 128 flights a week out of Virginia to including 32 international capital cities. And Germans love history. So I cannot wait to be there in front of all the media and talking about your 21 sites and our other sites and why they should visit Virginia, but specifically Fredericksburg. And I know it's regional because Carolina's close by, Spotsylvania, all of it, it's a community. It's a community. So when you look at your assets and you approach it from a community, it creates a vibrancy that has an impact on everyone. And it has what families will come and remember as an incredible time to, again, visit your history, go shopping, stay at a beautiful B&B, hotel, Airbnb, all of it. We love all of it. And have a great meal. And it's just what the American experience and your experience is all about. And with Mary Washington University, and with what Bill has going on in his infrastructure and building the new visitor center, and I know City Council and your board and MC, I know all you guys from a tourism standpoint because we work with you. So you know that everyone who's advocating on your behalf, they really are doing a great job in putting Fredericksburg at the forefront. And working with Congressman Spanberger's office, Senator Warner's office, Senator Kane's office, your local delegation who are now working really hard in the General Assembly, because I get to see them a lot. It's all good. And again, it's about teamwork, and it's about preservation, and it's about a deep understanding. And keep making those investments, because we want the new, we want to keep the traditional, and that's what makes a fabric. And that knitting, when you're including all of that, is a fabric of the life of having students come, every 4 years, and all the programs that you have that people can enjoy, and they come back for that. And ultimately, what the tourism and the historic preservation and these sites will do is say, that's a special place. And people who move here generally come first as a visitor. Businesses who expand or relocate first come as a visitor. So when you put out that amazing customer service, when you offer an easy smile, when you tell someone they should come on over and worship at Shiloh Baptist Church, right, Robert? That's all the olive branch, and that's all the heart and the understanding of who you are. And at the end of the day, that's what, again, our humanity should be about. It should be about bringing forward those things that make you richer in the honor of where you are and who you are. And now, we see now that people are doing less of the, not eliminated, of course, of the consumerism, but really people want experiences. They want something that they can hold on to. They can show a picture, or they can share a story, and they can say, I was here, wish you were here too. And they will go home and share their experience by word of mouth. People truly want authenticity. They want you to know, and they want for themselves to know that they felt something, and they've shared something, and that travel is about educating. It's about filling your mind and the spaces in your heart that you should only hopefully have a place for peace and comfort and understanding. So as these sites are promoted and marketed to those in the region, the United States, and the globe, you have a special offering that you have now contributed to the world through your planning, and through your preservation and your execution, to say, visit Fredericksburg, because it is for history lovers. So congratulations. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Rita. We greatly appreciate you being here today and the support shown by Virginia Tourism Corporation. What a great day for Fredericksburg. Next, I would like to invite Victoria Matthews, my partner in crime, on this project to tell us what the city had to do to join the U.S. Civil Rights Trail.
Thank you, Chris. Rita, thank you so much for being here today. We also have some additional Virginia Tourism staff in the audience, and I thank them for being here and supporting us on this great day. Thank you, Reverend Dobines and Mary Malone, for allowing us to use Shiloh Baptist Church, the old site, for this monumentous event. I learned a very valuable lesson from Reverend Dobines. I now know what 5 regular minutes means versus 5 church minutes. Lesson learned. So, I want to take a step back for a moment. I remember Senator Kane's words from when we unveiled the Civil Rights Trail to the public, that he liked that it was a trail and that everybody is on a journey. You will see on the video a culmination of all the events we have held on this project, and so the journey that the city has been on. This all started with an idea and an email written July 17th, 2020 at 12:54 p.m. Hi, Christopher. Do not call him that. It's Chris, just to be clear. I hope you're doing well. You and I had a conversation at the Freedom Riders reception in 2019 about my effort to put together a civil rights trail for the city of Fredericksburg. You had expressed interest in seeing what that might look like. I started a preliminary draft outline for the Civil Rights Trail. Please find it attached and let me know your thoughts and what might be missing. Clearly there was a lot missing. Hey Victoria, it's good to hear from you. I do remember the conversation we had by the famous Christmas tree at Dr. Pano's house in December. I'd like to come back at some point. Your house is really cool. When are you available to meet? I'd like to schedule a Zoom meeting with you to go over the list you provided and other ideas for Black History Civil Rights Trail for the city of Fredericksburg. From that point, the project was launched. As we gathered information and oral histories, we held our first event, a ceremony for the 60th anniversary of the Freedom Rides. We had about 30 people gathered outside during COVID. We moved forward with the Freedom Riders unveiling, where we had Dion Diamond, a Freedom Rider himself, share that he had been incarcerated with Dr. Farmer. We didn't know that until he came to speak to us. I also learned at that event that the fire department bell weighs a ton, as you see it in the video now. Upon picking up the bell for the event, I, in true firefighter fashion, slung it over my shoulder and loaded it into the van. You may remember we used it to honor the 13 original Freedom Riders, with John Lewis being the last name we read, who had died the year before. This is also the event where Sonny Holmes came to me and where Sonny Holmes and I had a conversation about the Walker Grant protest, which ended up being the next event we held with the history panel and unveiling. With permission from the Sproul family, we incorporated a recording into the sign about what happened at that site. We were honored to have two 1950 graduates there that day, William Knoll and Roger Williams, to unveil the history panel. This time last year, we unveiled the trail itself to the public, and last June, we unveiled the state historical marker for John Washington. Along the way, I've had the opportunity to travel to events and trade shows related to my work with the city, to Jackson, Mississippi, where I got to meet Hezekiah Watkins at the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum and hear his story as one of the youngest freedom riders at the age of 13 and how he was put on death row. Mr. Watkins had written a book which I asked him to sign after explaining to him the work that we were doing in Fredericksburg. His note reads, "To Victoria, thank you for your support. May God be with you always. Hezekiah Watkins." I got to see Medgar Evers' house and the site of his assassination and learned that my taxi driver Isaac had met him and lived a couple blocks over from him as a child. Mr. Watkins was at the event with Medgar Evers the night Medgar Evers was killed. I was in Memphis and was able to visit the National Civil Rights Museum and see the hotel room where Martin Luther King spent the last moments of his life after being assassinated. In March, I traveled to Little Rock, where I plan on visiting the Little Rock Nine, all sites on the U.S. Civil Rights Trail. In order to be added to the U.S. Civil Rights Trail, you do have to apply. The Civil Rights Trail is a collection of churches, courthouses, schools, museums, and other landmarks in the southern states. And beyond that, that played a pivotal role in advancing social justice in the 1950s and 60s, shifting the course of history. The criteria you have to follow are: be associated with events that made significant contribution to the U.S. Civil Rights movement during its height, be associated with the life of a person who was significant in the Civil Rights movement, embody distinctive characteristics of the tourism site, including but not limited to being open to the public, providing guided or self-guided experiential activities, or displaying a series of commemorative markers that communicate the context for the history of the U.S. Civil Rights Museum. Chris and I made the decision to submit the Freedom Riders marker as our choice of sites. Dr. Farmer was a national figure. The event was nationally known. I then decided, what harm could it do to make sure that they knew about the rest of the trail? So I highlighted the Freedom Riders marker, Dr. Farmer, but then included absolutely everything we possibly had on the rest of the trail. I included links to the trail, all the Facebook Live events, media coverage, earned media, everything. Then I got the call. Hey Victoria, we wanted to call you and let you know we're including Fredericksburg on the U.S. Civil Rights Trail, and not only are we taking the Freedom Riders site, but we're going to include the entire trail for the city of Fredericksburg. All right. Suffice to say, I was elated and tried to get a hold of Chris, who was yet in another meeting. I finally went over to his office and shared the news. I think the entire campus heard us jumping for joy. So a 21-stop trail online and in print, 16 oral histories, 6 event, 3 wayside panels, 1 history panel, 2 state markers, 2 awards, $3.9 million in earned media, and being added to the site today. And that is all from one email. Thank you for responding to the email, Chris. The city of Fredericksburg, along with the Wayside Committee headed by Dr. Sims, also installed 5 new Wayside panels this month, and coming soon to the university are going to be 5 new Wayside panels on the UMW's campus. What a journey.
Thank you, Victoria, for those astounding comments. You are my forever friend now. Next up the bat, Dr. Troy Pano, President of the University of Mary Washington, will now share a few words with us. Dr. Pano.
I gotta say, every time I come here to speak, I feel like I'm being set up. Last time I was to honor the amazing Johnny Johnson, and I got up to speak after an amazing speaker, and I felt like, how do I follow that? How do I follow Victoria? That was amazing. I told Chris yesterday I'd be very brief. I'd be 90 seconds, but first of all, Reverend Joe Bind, I didn't know when I got back behind the pulpit. I remembered I am the son of a preacher. Well, I'll try to keep it to 90 seconds, but the spirit might move. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. But, I really just wanted to take this opportunity to express the university's thanks. Certainly, the thanks to the dynamic duo of Victoria and Chris, what they have done for this community. More broadly, I want to thank the city. Have been wonderful partners with the university in so many ways. We at the university, and we have faculty and staff who've been so involved in this work, and we have representatives from the Jane Farr Multicultural Center. We really view the city as a learning laboratory for our students, and the city offers so many opportunities for our faculty and our students to get involved, not only with history, but a variety of things. And so your willing partnership is so important to the education that we provide to students. But what we're here to celebrate today is so important to the university in a variety of other ways. I spend a lot of time worrying about 18 to 22-year-olds. They are our future. We like to think we invest a lot in them. I know I spend a lot of sleepless nights thinking about the future of our democracy and this generation and what they are inheriting, the challenges that they're faced. And I've met with a lot of students over the course of the last few weeks, and we are currently facing in our world tremendous challenges. And when I interact with these students, I always worry about where's their inspiration, where there's hope. Our country is founded on some pretty important principles. And from its beginning, we have often fallen short of the glory, right? Equality. The fact that we all get to enjoy the same liberties, that our government, the power of our government, emanates from the people. All of these are important principles embedded in our Constitution, but always not practiced. And we know that the hope, that the inspiration is in the struggle. It's in the fights fought, it's in the victories won. And the fact that now here we are able to bring the world to Fredericksburg. to learn more about those fights, but also those victories, to bring attention to these heroes, to these icons who made a difference. I was thinking, as I was sitting here and thinking of this moment, that I wrote a book in the 1960s. And I wrote about some of the people who you all know in a much more intimate way. And I was up in Minnesota when I wrote that history. And if I would have imagined that I would someday find myself here in Fredericksburg and the president of the university where James Farmer taught, I couldn't have imagined it. To be afforded the opportunity before his passing, Dr. Sanford, the day that we spent going to see Congressman Lewis and spending time, he was so gracious with his time. These people who I consider heroes, who I wrote about, I had an opportunity to actually get a chance to meet. So humbling. But for me, it's really what it represents for this next generation. And to have this trail now coming on to our campus for our students to see an example of what is possible. If you're willing to fight the fight, you can win the victories. It offers hope, it offers inspiration to the next generation. And for that, Victoria, Chris, and everyone else who made this possible, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Frederick. Before I ask a few of our special guests to come up, over the past week or so, I've been in correspondence with the Vice President's office, and very grateful that Vice President Kamala Harris has written a letter for this special day. So I'm going to read it and then move the program to some of our special guests. I'm honored to extend my greetings and congratulations to the city of Fredericksburg and the University of Mary Washington as you convene for the unveiling of the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail. We stand on the shoulders of the incredible leaders and trailblazers who came before us. We must tell their stories to paint a true picture of our nation's history and inspire young people to be all that they can be. Establishing the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail as part of the United States Civil Rights Trail is a remarkable milestone, and I hope you take great pride in this accomplishment. Thank you to all those in the community who worked on this historical site. Your commitment to preserving and commemorating our nation's history honors the voices and experiences of those who contributed to the civil rights movement and serves as a beacon of progress across our country. To the leaders whose stories are represented throughout the trail, those of you who are in the room currently, please know that I am grateful for your courage and commitment to building a more just and equitable nation for all. Thank you again for your incredible contributions and leadership. May the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail serve as a reminder to every visitor that freedom must never be taken for granted, and may it motivate us all to continue fighting for justice, equity, and opportunity. Sincerely, Kamala Harris. Now I'm going to ask the Regional Director for Senator Mark Warner, Tanya Talento, to come up and read his letter of support. Can we give her a hand?
Good afternoon. My name is Tanya Talento, and I'm U.S. Senator Mark Warner's Regional Director. It is truly an honor to be here just to celebrate this really momentous occasion. And so Senator Warner does send his regrets for not being able to join me, but he did want me to read a letter when he wrote. Dear friends, I am pleased to extend my warmest greetings to all who are gathered to celebrate the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail inclusion in the United States Civil Rights Trail. It seems like only yesterday that the community joined together in celebration of the unveiling of this project, and I am so pleased to see it now recognized as an important fixture of the United States Civil Rights Trail. This achievement is a testament to the strong collaboration of the City of Fredericksburg and the University of Mary Washington to showcase the stories and experiences of Black residents before and during the Civil Rights Movement. We owe it to the individuals who participated in the Civil Rights Movement to remember their acts of courage and the change that they made possible in our country. I join you in honoring them today and commending Victoria Matthews, Christopher Williams, Christine Henry, Stephen Hanna, and all those who worked to make this trail a reality. Please accept my best wishes for a successful and meaningful event. Sincerely, Mark R. Warner, United States Senator.
Thank you, Tanya. Next up is Regional Director for Senator Tim Kaine, Oriella Mejia, to read his letter of support.
Hello everyone, I'm Rita McElligott, Senator Kaine's Regional Director, right down the street on William Street here in Fredericksburg. And although Senator Kaine could not be here with you today, he sends his words of congratulations to all of us. And it reads, "Dear friends, I am pleased to acknowledge the unveiling of the City of Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail as a part of the United States Civil Rights Trail. I extend my gratitude to Victoria Matthews, Chris Williams, and all the community leaders who have worked tirelessly over the past 3 years. I would also like to applaud the partnership between the City of Fredericksburg and the University of Mary Washington for their efforts to create the vision before you today. The Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail will serve to honor and uplift the legacy of African American leaders throughout history in Fredericksburg, Virginia. This trail is an inspiring example of how far the Commonwealth of Virginia and the United States have come. It also stands to remind us that the fight for equity, equality, and justice must continue. Congratulations on this significant undertaking and best wishes for a successful event. Sincerely, United States Senator Tim Kaine."
Thank you, Oriella. And last but certainly not least, is the District Coordinator for Congresswoman Spanberger, Martha Borden, to read her letter of support.
Good afternoon. Before I get started, I had this idea of selflessness in my mind. I spent Saturday with the folks at the Fredericksburg Area Museum and a lot of you all on their inaugural trolley tour of the new Wayside panels. And I can't think of a more selfless community than Fredericksburg. Folks who came out on a Saturday, who shared their personal stories, their personal anecdotes, and shared history that might not fit on a Wayside panel to folks like me who are still trying to learn all the great history that the city has to offer. I can't think of two more selfless people to honor today than Victoria and Chris in their work to get this established and get this off the ground. So like I said, or like Chris said, my name is Mark Borden. I'm here from Congresswoman Spanberger's office to share a letter of congratulations to the two of them. And that letter reads, "Dear Victoria and Chris, I'm writing to extend my heartfelt congratulations and appreciation to you for your outstanding leadership and unwavering commitment to the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail project. Your dedication to preserving and honoring the rich history of civil rights in our community is inspiring, and it is with great pleasure that I take this opportunity to recognize your remarkable contributions. As the Congresswoman representing Virginia's 7th District, I'm proud to witness the positive impact of your efforts on the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail. Your passion for justice, equality, and historical preservation has played a critical role in ensuring that the stories of those who fought for civil rights in our region are not only remembered, but celebrated. The United States Civil Rights Trail is a testament to the resilience and courage of individuals who have dedicated their lives to the pursuit of justice and equality. Your leadership in incorporating the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail into this national project for justice reflects your deep understanding of the importance of preserving and sharing the stories that have shaped our nation's history. Your tireless work has not only contributed to the recognition of the struggles faced by members of the Fredericksburg community in the pursuit of civil rights, but has also paved the way for future generations to learn from and be inspired by the lessons of the past. The Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail will undoubtedly serve as an educational resource and a source of inspiration for all who visit. Once again, thank you for your leadership on this project. I look forward to witnessing the positive impact that the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail will continue to have on the community and our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you all for your letters of support. Now I want to shift to someone who's very important in my life, my cousin Frank White. He's going to read a poem that he wrote about the Walker Grant school protest that occurred here in June of 1950. He was a Walker Grant graduate and rode the school bus from Stafford County to the city of Fredericksburg, as there were no public school options for the Black community in Stafford. Please come up to the podium, Cousin Frank.
Good afternoon, everybody. As stated, I'm a Stafford County resident and wonder what I could do with Fredericksburg. Well, the poem is The Day They Marched. And normally when you think about marching, I always thought about the march on DC back in '63. But I found out about another march that happened a little south of DC. And this poem is about all of that and about a certain class. The Day They Marched. Down through the years, in this great USA, a lot of marches have been held to sweat. Very courageous folk got in the street, young and old, to take a stand with their feet. One day in August 1963, a march was held in Washington, D.C. A huge crowd marched. It made news all over the universe. A huge crowd marched, and many were diverse. Radio and TV covered that march. It was a hot day. Folks became posh. Now, D.C. is the U.S. capital. That march became very historical. Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream. His story about the dream was extinct. Folks can still hear that speech today. He dreamed about a future USA. In June 1950, a march was held with an entirely different clientele, just 50 miles south of the DC line, in Fredericksburg, Virginia, this time. That was a city high school, Walker Grant, with a senior class which was adamant, seeking to hold their commencement program in a place where there would not be a jam. Fredericksburg City Community Center was the place that they wanted to enter. For the space at Walker Grant way back then was so small, all families could not attend. So they contacted the proper town folk made a reservation. This is no joke. But because of the color of their skin, they could not use the front door to walk in. Now, that did not sit well with them at all. Those brave, smart young folk did not like that color. High school graduation was a great feat. Using the side door would be a defeat. They would rather stand outside in the street and just get their diplomas on their feet. This was a great accomplishment for them. They had stayed the course. They had earned a gem. So they held a demonstration outside, dressed in cap and gown, so full of pride. According to the Freelance Star that day, 300 folks watched as they walked away. Then they marched way down to Shiloh Old Site, the church by the river, a beautiful sight. They held their commencement program inside, marching down the aisle while smiling with pride. In February 2022, the city did something long overdue. They honored those brave students of the past, courageous action recognized at last. Now let me add just a little footnote about that senior class which no one wrote. Some of those kids crossed the river each day, riding on the school bus along the way. They were kids from Stafford County, you see. All were residents of Stafford just like me. A high school diploma was their main goal, and they were determined to get that sport. In Stafford County, they could not get it. A Stafford Black high school did not exist. That did not stop them from reaching that goal. And like the kids, they got their sport. Frank White, 1957, Walker Grant after that.
Thank you, Cousin Frank. I do want to mention something really quickly. Between my cousin Frank, my cousin John, and their two other brothers, I think combined, correct me, Cousin Rita, 82 years of service, military service. So can we give them a hand for that? So Victoria, I hear you have something for Cousin Frank.
Thanks, Chris. Can I be a cousin too? Because I feel left out. So yes, Frank was really helpful in providing us with information that we could put on the Civil Rights Trail. Without him, we would not have certain stories like the one about Gladys White Jordan, who was denied admission at Mary Washington College. We unfortunately lost Gladys White Jordan in November, but are grateful that we have her story from Frank. Frank gave us documents on the Walker Grant School and put us in touch with his brother, John White, who also provided us with an oral history. A week in my office is not complete if Frank does not come by and say hello. He is insistent that I'm going to kick him out, but I wouldn't dare. So if Frank could please come stand in front of the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail sign. Come on, Frank.
Come on,
And Mayor
Cousin
Devine
Frank.
will join him.
Cousin Frank.
Cousin Frank, right here. to present this award to Frank White. Frank White, local historian, in appreciation for your outstanding contributions to the City of Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail, Freedom, a Work in Progress. Thank you, Frank.
Now, we are delighted to have our Vice Mayor, my friend Chuck Fry, to come up and share a few words with us. Vice Mayor.
On this day in 2024, Frank White kicked down the door. How about that? I didn't write that. I just wanted y'all to know. I just did that. Dr. Pedro, you talking about you got set up, and I had to come up after Mr. White. Mr. White, if you were 20 years old today, you'd be the #1 rapper. I can tell you that. All of those words that flow together, like the good weather, you know. He got me going now. I'm sorry. Those that know me know I love this city. This is what I like to see. I like to see smiles. This city itself is so important to me. And I want to say this before I get started. I have my water, but I'm not going to be long. But I just want to make sure I'm clear for you guys. My first public speaking engagement happened right here, probably when I was about 8 years old. And my grandmother, Pearl French, she said, we're not going to keep going to church, little child, if you ain't going to get involved in nothing. I was like, I see a couple guys over here looking at me, remember when I was a little kid. I said, well, Grandma, we go to church, that's doing something. She said, no, you got to do something, besides just going, you got to participate. I was like, all right. So time went on, she didn't say any more about it. She said, Sunday, you're doing welcome. I said, huh? She said, you're going to do welcome. It wasn't an option. She said, you're going to do welcome or you're going to be a junior usher. It's your choice. She said, junior usher is, whichever Sunday. The welcome, you can do it once and see how it goes. I said, all right, I'm doing welcome. I say that to say this. It's an honor to stand here today because, believe it or not, back then, I was a shy little kid that used to ride around on my bike all the time. And, I remember standing up here and looking out and saying, oh man, and I'm like, we welcome visitors, but I know who the visitors are because they're not here every Sunday. I can see them. But that led to something bigger, for myself to be able to stand in front of crowds and be able to express myself and to be open and be honest and to talk about whatever. Today, as we celebrate everything that the city and the university has accomplished together, I want to say this. I'm gonna close my notes. What's important is the fact that, going back to my grandmother, the stories that I was told in her little living room are the stories that are going to be told around the world. I'm talking about from right here in Fredericksburg.
That's right.
The stories that were never, I would call, respected. It was like, well, okay, that happened, more or less. So what? Yeah, that happened. That school, class of 1955, okay, that's just the way it was. And, when I was growing up and going to history class and different classes, it wasn't interesting to me because I would go to school, then I would go to grandma's house. And what grandma was telling me wasn't what was in the books. The fact that today we get to tell the stories of the untold.
That's it.
And the fact, that elders pass on and generations pass on and we lose those stories.
Yes.
And they stay in the living room. Family members start passing away. Those stories go away.
That's right.
I'm glad that I was, open-minded enough to listen to my grandmother to some of those stories. When I sitting on city council, sitting on city council, it's been a lot of conversations we had over the years about different things. And when I would look around the room sometimes, like, nobody knows, nobody heard this before. You know, different situations, like, whoa, nobody heard this because it was my normal. And I started to realize that a lot of people's normal, what was in the books, is what they took a test to, is what they took, you know, they got 100, or did they get a B? Did they pass the test? But what the facts there, you know, and in the city, we made a commitment years ago to tell the rest of the story.
That's right.
And it's real because the rest of the story exists, it's out there. And it was more of a myth when folks would talk about different things that happened in Fredericksburg. And not to over-reference the slave block, but a lot of people didn't know that folks didn't want to walk on that side of the street, right? Didn't even want to walk on that side of the street because it was there. The fact that the community, this community, your community, our community, came together and had discussions about what these different things mean. And the fact that we're able to stand here today and be able to move forward and tell the story. So it was referenced earlier a little bit. What I wanted to say on my closing remarks is that his story and her story can be told in different ways. And as long as we tell the story over here and we tell this story, we're always going to be divided. I'm going to say it again. If we tell a story over here and we tell it over there, we're always going to be divided. Because what happens is, this is the story of history. This is the black story, right? Yeah. So the black story is part of history. So it's our story.
That's right.
Okay, it's a black story. That's a fact. So now when we speak on it in the future, it's our story, right? And everybody tries to figure, well, how do we come together? Well, how do we do this? How do we do that? Stop separating our stories. That's how we do it. That's right. So if for the future, for the future, we should be going back into the books and we should look at a particular year. And we should say, okay, this happened in this year. This was the greatest thing that happened that year. This president was elected. Oh, also 1955, right? Fredericksburg has a story. Insert that story on the other side of the page. And that's how we come together, right? And as future generations look at these stories, they're going to remain separated when they read the stories. Even when we tell our story in the city of Fredericksburg, right? Even when we tell our story, without an open mind, you're still going to be divided. So I just want to leave on this note. His story and her story is our story. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Fry. Now to what I feel like is one of the most important parts of this program are some of the folks that I've had the pleasure of interviewing over the past 3 years. So I'm going to ask the following oral history participants to stand in front of the Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail logo. I don't know if Ms. Rita McElligott is in attendance today. Dr. Marcy Catlett, Robert Christian, Reverend Lawrence Davies' daughter, Sharon Davies Jeffrey, Jimmy Dyson, Miss Gloria Johnson, Johnny P. Johnson's sons, John Patrick Johnson, Shelton Johnson, Jareen McConnell, Roland Moore, Kay Savage, Reverend Hashmill Turner, Frank White, John White, Miss Marguerite Young, Grace Garnett Sproul's daughters, Miss Latifah Muhammad, and Mary Malone. Miss Gaddek Malola is unable to join us, but I don't know if her son Juno is here. And also Ambassador Pamela Bridgewater and Russell Brown were unable to join us due to prior commitments. We are grateful, eternally grateful for their stories, and without them, we would not let me emphasize this. We would not have a Fredericksburg Civil Rights Trail. Can we give them a hand? Victoria is presenting lapel pins to the oral history participants. Good. Now I want to take a moment to recognize how auspicious it is to have this recognition of being added to the United States Civil Rights Trail in 2024. This year we celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court ruling and the 60th anniversary of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. This year also marks the 170th anniversary of this church. This church has a long history and prominent role in Fredericksburg, especially as it relates to social justice. The Black community has been worshiping at this site since 1815. The original building collapsed in the late 1800s, and this current church building dates back to 1890. Prominent Black citizens and pastors of Shiloh Baptist Church Old Sites congregation played critical roles in the struggle for civil rights, beginning in the years following the Civil War and continuing through present day. Reverend B.H. Hester was pastor of Shiloh Baptist Church Old Site for 40 years, from 1922 to 1961. He was a strong proponent of education, paying poll taxes, and writing letters to prominent newspapers of the period to respect the humanity of Black citizens in Virginia and in this nation. There is an example of his unflinching character and resolve downstairs in the fellowship hall of a letter he wrote to the news leader in Richmond. This example is taken from Ambassador Bridgewater's book, Neutral on Nothing. Reverend Hester was responsible for the Shiloh Herald, of which copies are downstairs for you to take a look at. Reverend Hester's legacy continues today with the work of his granddaughter, Ambassador Pamela Bridgewater, a retired United States Foreign Service officer. This church supported the Walker Grant protests in June 1950 and was the location where the graduates marched to and held their graduation. 10 years later, in July 1960, this church served as a training site for local students to prepare for the sit-ins that took place in downtown Fredericksburg. These sit-ins were in protest of the segregated lunch counters and movie theaters in this city. Students were trained in how to deal with physical and verbal threats and abuse by white residents. The sites of these sit-ins are featured on stop 3 of our trail. Reverend Lawrence A. Davies followed Reverend Hester as pastor of Shiloh Baptist Church Old Site from 1962 until 2012. He would be here at the start of the desegregation of James Monroe High School and Morey School. He was elected and served in Fredericksburg as the first Black city council member for 10 years from 1966 to 1976, and as the first Black mayor of Fredericksburg from 1976 to 1996. It is now my pleasure to ask Reverend Aaron Dobine Sr., the pastor of Shiloh Baptist Church Old Site, to address us today. We are extremely grateful that he has allowed us to use this church to hold the program today. Reverend Dobine.
There's an African proverb that says, when an elder dies, it is though a library has burned. We've heard a lot of stories here today that need to be told and retold for future generations. If we don't learn the lessons from history, we will repeat those terrible things that take place because of ignorance and an attempt to erase and change and rewrite history. History is tough. History can be very hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, and some people will try to change and rewrite and to do a do-over on the truth.
Yes.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, truth crushed to the ground will rise again.
Okay.
And we're thankful for those who gathered today who are part of this resurrection of a history that many people want to bury even today. When you tell the truth, you're going to talk about some hard, cold facts. It's not going to always be splendid. It's not going to always be nice. It's not going to always be sweet. But it still needs to be told. Because if it's not told, we will be doomed to repeat those terrible lessons again.
Yes, sir.
As we sit here, as we are gathered here, there are people who have made it their mission to try to rewrite history or to mute history.
That's right.
Or to turn down the truth and accept that which is not true as history. All of us here today, by our presence, we have gathered to say to those who would try to rewrite history, it will not happen.
It will not happen.
It will not happen. And it cannot happen because truth matters.
Thank you, Reverend Dobine. Now please join us as Alex Pendleton plays the Negro National Anthem of Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. This concludes our program today. Please join us in the fellowship hall for a reception and to see part of the exhibit from the Fredericksburg Visitor Center on the Civil Rights Trail. That exhibit will be back up in the Fredericksburg Visitor Center on Friday and remain there until the end of the month. Thank you all for coming. Have a nice day.